didn't really want to make this video, but because I'm in such a habit of literally posting every single day, I wanted to share my thoughts out there yet again. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about you can get a partner without having to go through a program, and you can get a partner without having to buy some type of course, dating information, maybe even without reading a book, to be honest. And the reason I say this is because, well, you may have experienced this yourself in the past. You may have seen other people do this in the past, and you may have, even me, myself personally, I've done outrageous things in the past and with very minimal education. And so you could enter into a program that teaches you very sophisticated things. And some of these programs have their place. They have interesting value to offer. You know, you might join a course that sort of differentiates of when to communicate with a woman versus when not to. If you're like just starting to text her for the first time ever, you know, you might reach out when she's in a good bubbly mood, or you don't text her, which is in a dark mood. So things like that could be very interesting. Or such as wearing the color red. Apparently there's a 20% increase in female attraction towards men if you wear red. There's apparently a study on this. And if you buy these programs, right, they have their place. I am not objecting to buying them, but I'm also kind of on the fence about investing too much heart into them. And this would probably include myself, because I myself obviously am looking to sort of really niche down on where and who to serve, because I feel like I'm encompassing way too much of a broad spectrum, and some of my content gets a little confused out there because I use terms such as romantic interest. And to me, that term means something very specific, but for other people that might be somewhere wildly different on the scale. There's the spectrum. You know, I might even use the term specific person, and that is in the realm of manifestation online for a lot of people. They use that SP term. Other people use the term favorite person. If you're like a borderline or something like that, they say favorite person. And this is only if you are part of those communities or you think that you identify with those things. One of the dangers with joining or buying any type of program is that you believe wholeheartedly the marketing. For example, if you are interested in giving a woman an orgasm, you might find that the education that you receive or the marketing might have you believe that she will never leave you if you give her an orgasm. Now, I personally know how to give an orgasm, but it's like, well, that doesn't guarantee that she will stay. So the marketing did not work. It just made you rolled up. It just makes you feel like, damn, like if I can accomplish this, then, you know, so don't fall for the marketing of the product, because does it live up to what it promises? Yes and no. Yes, you might be able to give an orgasm if that's something you're interested in, but at the same time, is she going to stay? Probably not. You know what? Actually, there was this one time I even heard on the radio, literally, a young girl rang up for some reason, and she asked the host, this is like in my local city, what to do about going about blocking her romantic interest, literally. She was on the fence about it because she wanted to have one last good SEGGS session with him, because it was so good, apparently. And the radio host is like, oh, I know what's going on here. Tell you what, you go for that and then block him. And it's just like, well, you know, goes to show, doesn't it, that you can still have amazing sex, but, you know, will it guarantee that you'll be together? For some reason, no. Another danger about buying any type of product or package or type of program that you might be a part of, you know, is that there could be sort of this thing called overinvestment, or sort of like even an underinvestment. It's a bit of a weird thing here, because both are happening at the same time. You're overinvested in getting this outcome, this outrageous outcome of making things happen. And then when you try to apply these lessons and skills in the real world, I found that it's extremely intimidating. It doesn't make sense. It kind of rubs off on people the wrong way. So there's that problem. But then there's also, well, like, that's also normal in the context of practice, because when you practice something, of course, you're not going to be great at it the first time. However, with these programs, a lot of the time, even with books, to be honest, is when a book even has a great framework, people might not generally follow the framework within the book or the program. And you kind of like let it be there after reading the program once, after reading the book once, and so it just kind of disappears. And so that's kind of like the danger of it, right? Now, if you were like in high school or way above or whatever, you've probably seen some of your mates, girlfriends, etc. They've entered into relationships, oftentimes where the partner is not that great of a partner. They're irresponsible, perhaps abusive, manipulative perhaps, cheating no less. And there's this sort of mix of hot and cold. And if you've learnt anything about relationships, is this mix of hot and cold, you know, this sort of zigzag feeling. This creates a tension of love, right? And it can be useful, but it can also be harmful if used so irresponsibly. And it's possible that certain irresponsible people out there, or people who don't really know what they're doing, or maybe they do know what they're doing and they just choose to let it be. I don't know. They're good at certain things and bad at others. And this is the category you might fit into. You might be bad at one thing, but good at another thing. My point is that you do not necessarily have to enter into a program or buy a product that necessarily trains you how to become a better flirter, better sex partner, a better romantic person, because you can just sort of do it yourself. I'm making this funny face because you just sort of do it. And for me personally, in the past and several times, this has been my way of doing it. You just kind of do it. And then at the same time, when bad shit happens, that also happens because you let that happen, I guess. And when the bad shit happens, this is the time where people probably want to buy programs the most. This is the time when people want to buy products the most because they feel so lonely. They feel so hurt. They feel so rejected that they want to seek out some type of answer. And even me, literally scrolling through TikTok, and I'm seeing some people, they're successful in being able to sell the plans, the products, etc. But does it really get you the result where you want to go? And it's definitely not going to be changing the other party's mind. I can tell you that. If you'd like any mindsets to take away from this video, I'm going to remind you of a sort of a newish one that I've come up with recently. And this is, if you can't beat vultures, join them. And at first, that might sound a little bit like confrontational. It might sound a bit accusatory. Like if you consider your romantic interest a vulture or your opposition a vulture or something like that, it sounds a bit, unsettling. And what I mean by this is, like, if you look at rich people, for example, you don't argue with rich people. You don't complain about rich people. How can you beat a rich person if you're just in the slums complaining about being in the slums? Instead, you join the rich people, if that makes sense. You don't fight the flow of the river. You flow with the flow of the river. That's what I mean when I say, if you can't beat the vultures, join them, because you'd be going against the flow of the river if you tried to fight the vultures. You have to join the vultures. And the vultures for your own dating life could be principles and laws, universal laws and principles. And there are dozens, maybe hundreds, or even maybe thousands of them. And unfortunately, you'd have to write them all down in a perfect organized mind map to recall them all. For example, the law of reversibility, or the law of cause and effect, for example. And this is a very important one too. The law of cause and effect, or the principle at least, is that for every smoke, there is a fire, right? There is a source to where something came from. So if your partner left you or yelled at you or something like that, there is a cause that made that come about. And if you assume the form of someone who takes radical accountability, then you would look at yourself as being the cause for your partner moving away.